again all ready to start the season off. It will be the first lock-in for AL.
Right, yeah. So now you're looking for the best Meteor combinations, I guess. The Tristana... Okay, so this is different. Okay, so this is a combination we saw from mid-jungle an awful lot last year, and Haichao does play an awful lot of AD mids. This is absolutely fine to hold as a flex pick between mid and bot lane. There is a chance that you lock in, if it's not picked up here on 2-3 for anyone's legend, that you lock in Meteor on 3 and hold the Tristana between bot mid flex and hope that the Tristana could have value into the Azir as well if Haichao is willing to go against Shanks. Of course, Shanks is a very strong player of the Azir. Shanks is one of those players who, he wasn't at the elite cusp of mid laners last year, but he was definitely a good mid laner. Giving him something like the Azir to have that carry potential, that's already a pretty good start for anyone's Legends draft.
And Shanks himself was a core piece to WE's long-term goals, right? He was a call-up and then went now on a new team, new place, trying to make something happen. The Tom Kench does get locked in as the Varus. Yeah, apparently. The Cassante is actually locked in. So Emilio going out the wayside. Here comes the second phase of bans.
So surprising to me that Emilio has slipped all the way through this draft. Such a powerful champion right now. So you do have the Cassante being able to ban out potentially something like the Darius or the... or rather the Udyr as well. I probably don't think that you're going to go see the Darius locked in, especially with this kind of composition. So probably Udyr banned second from LGD, and then Hery will have to ask himself what he's going to play towards. We have seen the Nymeara, of course, an awful lot today. It seems like that's been coming out to great success, especially when you start building up those Void Grubs. AL banning out these Ziggs. That is this LGD or LNG? Because this is the kind of composition which they absolutely thrived with last year. Tristana mid, Ziggs bot with something like an engaged support. That was so important to them last year. It's not alien to the LPL. I just haven't seen it from LGD yet.
Not yet, but there's always a chance. We do get the Rel Rumble ban there. I like the Ziggs ban just to offset the Tristana mid if it was going to be the case. The Emilio finally banned away as the second phase gets kicked off here. Could see some flexibility utilized here with a final pick available to them on the side of LGD.
Kepler hovering over the Ezreal. I believe the only person who's played it in the LPL so far is Abel. Hasn't come out too much. Remember, this is 14.1. It's before Ezreal's buffs comes through, and it is going to be locked in. So lots of AD locked in from LGD. Now, if you lock in something like an Udyr, you are so tanky. It feels like the Tom. If you have a Tom Kench and an Udyr, you are so happy with how this game is going. You could also heck, you could even lock in something like a Ornn at this point if you want a full AD. Go for the team fight later on. I think that would be completely fine. Yeah, you lose some of the push versus the Cassante, and some of the side lane pressure. But that having a tank frontline against double AD carries with no real magic damage threat. I know Ezreal does some, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's a big threat now from anyone's legend.
Udyr's the new hotness, so you know it's going to be that one. Nobody wants to lock in Ornn. Why would you want to do that? We do have a lot of safety, though, in terms of the damage potential from LGD, but also a lot of spacing potential from their key engage tools as well. Want to see a lot of presence from Sejuani today.
It has an extra go button from the jungle, which is why we're going back towards Maokai Sejuani, baby! It's back again! Oh my gosh, it's just so easy to pull the trigger and be a tank frontline. Again, like LGD, they have a lot of physical damage, not much of anything else, unless we start seeing something like the AP Maokai coming out. There's a chance that that comes out, thinking about it. Leandries is not too bad against this team from AL, but it's not going to be something which you're going to hyper-itemize against, because it's not going to be carrying the team fights. The Rakan is locked in as well. It can help bully out a little bit in the laning phase. Ezreal Rakan is very hard to get a hold of. They're pretty good at following up on engages, and it, of course, provides its own engage with the Rakan as well. I just look at both these team compositions and I go, well, if LGD don't get themselves early push and early value out of these lanes, they are going to run up against some really tanky members of anyone's legend. Tank items right now are supremely busted. So it feels like Croco, Hery, and Kael, if they can get themselves to 2-3 items of the Frozen Heart, it is going to be very hard for LG to play out these team fights.
There's also just a lot of utility, a lot of lockdown potential there as well, a lot of tools. I think the more tools you have in this day and age, especially this meta, I think the better off you are. And it's curious that it got to this point, right? Like, we haven't had a lot of Ezreal played. We have had a lot of Tristana played. I love the double ADC composition, but it always comes with the caveat of there are potentials for it to go massively wrong.
Absolutely. Kepler worth noting, he's picked up this Ezreal. Over his career, he's 2-9 on the pick. It's not been something he's found a huge amount of success with. Of course, not always been part of the most successful teams as well, sadly for him. He's looking to right that record just a little bit here. Very important he starts this game strong.
A constant in the Demacia Cup highlight reel. Kepler making his re-debut here, it feels like, and something where I think both these teams are in a position where momentum is key for the way they have built their rosters, the players that we have, and I especially think in this game one, we're going to kick it off chaotically. As we hit it, it is LGD versus anyone's legend. Our third best of three kicking off now. Got some JinJiaos there. People sticking around. I like it. I like it.
Good to see. Absolutely good to see. So, out onto the map. Anything interesting to know? Looking at the runes, it's going to be an on-hit Varus, which makes sense. You've got a couple of frontliners to go against. Phase Rush on Meteor, which is nothing to be surprised at. He's gone for the Scorch Claw, which means he's going to get a little bit more burn damage and slow on his autos and abilities and stuff like that every so often. I am wondering whether we do actually have to see the Leandries coming out onto the Maokai this game, just because you need some form of % HP damage and some magic damage. It feels like it slots quite well into what Meteor could do this game.
Knowing Meteor, he wants to go damage for sure. I just see the way this guy has utilized some of those variations of picks in the meta, right? He was bringing out the Brand. He's had the Kindred as well. I'm very curious if that comes into play as the series goes on itself. Obviously, we're getting very tried and true picks right now, but it is something to keep an eye on as Croco has been making his debut in the LPL. It can be something to push on against AL.
Croco as well. I mean, gosh, there are so many LCK players which have worked their way over to the LPL this year. Croco amongst them. Kael, of course, we just saw Dr. in life earlier. Across a few others too. Maybe they can bring a little bit of their flavor over. Sejuani has always been one of the tried and tested picks of the LCK as well. Hopefully we can bring some of that expertise to this region too.
A little bit of lane poking action going down here. I was curious to see if we were going to get a little bit more of a lax bot lane for LGD. I actually end up liking the Rakan pickup for JinJiao. It gives a lot of utility picks, a lot of that peel ability, but also engage potential for LGD.
It is the extra engage that you kind of need. It's the engage champion which still has a bit more of a laning phase. It's not awesome late game versus the Tahm Kench in some ways, because if you don't catch both the carry and Tahm Kench, of course he goblins them up and stops you from getting all the value that you particularly want to do. So I'm looking really from LGD to make good use of stuff like this, jumping in early, getting good damage, making sure that the wave push is going in their favor. In bot lane and mid lane particularly, I think that's going to be important.
Taking a heavy trade on the backside of that play, though, was Haichao. So you got to be a little bit more careful in the future there and see if you can keep trading that health for it. Meanwhile, Burdol actually getting pretty aggressive on under tower here. Pretty typical for the Udyr. Usually that by this point we're actually seeing maybe some proxy farming going, I feel like.
Gosh, funnily enough, that's how K'Sante would beat Gwen. Shanji showed us this last year, where you would proxy them because you just don't want to fight them. You're like, well, I'm just going to go wave clear into this turret, like somewhere in between inhibitor turrets and inner turrets. Surely that'll be fine. And you kind of get away with not having to deal with the tank shredding potential out there. Hery on this Udyr, he doesn't even really matter where he's hitting the minions. As long as he's hitting minions, it's just really hard for K'Sante to do anything.
Haichao's playing to the bottom side of the map because Meteor's in his blue side. Had to be a little bit careful there. The rocket jump does get him to safety. Meteor will be spotted out though, so both junglers know where each other are at. We're going to play around the spot side.
So Meteor doesn't feel confident taking that ward by himself, calls out the Rakan, who's much more survivable in those kind of situations, and clears that vision out. It has been a bit more of a slow start. We haven't seen any level 2s in jungle. Haichao, he's been forced to use his jump on cooldown. It's a little bit annoying for him. Anyone's Legend keeping up good presence in, at least in the enemy jungle.
Croco is going for the spawn of, thought he was going to go for the spawn of Raptors as they come up. But it is going to be the Scuttle Crab play, so double Scuttle for anyone's Legend. And continuing to be a nuisance is Hery on the top side.
Not Mr. Krabs. It's my favorite character.
Wow, are we just really trying to? Are we really doing this? Is
Well,
SpongeBob
so I was
the key
suggested-
theme here? We got Squidward, we have Mr. Krabs, and we were talking about SpongeBob Grub Pants. Like,
No. Sponge Grub Void Pants. That's what I've been suggesting.
oh, I'm so sorry, I got that wrong.
You know, you can at least try and get it right the first time you say the name. I'm just going to throw that onto the equation. Look, I sat there for too much time thinking of different things you could call the grubs. I have to use them at some points.
I still think the $1 million idea is the Grubby Tubbies. Like, I don't know how that. Like, by the time we came up with that, it's already been a couple hours. I'm surprised, like, Sony hasn't come out with a new deal for the Grubby Tubbies. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, give us a call. We'll make it work for you. We've got a script in the making already.
And the thing is,
It's
the
like,
script grows with the game.
It does. It's fantastic. It's just like how you should, someone at some point should ask Lyric all of his song ideas on broadcast at some point. I have one parody song which I really want to do. Haichao will be fine. We don't need to talk about this. I have one perfectly written parody which is, you know, Radiohead? So it's Creep, but in brackets Score. It's a song about minions in League of Legends. Just keep your eyes out for that.
All right,
if I get
like
bored
that.
enough, if I get bored enough at some point, that will grace SoundCloud somewhere.
It took a second,
yeah.
but you know, I could appreciate the reference.
Just like how you have the music video for that song is a load of people just like in a really dark kind of like gig room. I just want that exact same scene, but everyone is wearing the minion capes. just everyone's wearing
minions in real life. Okay, I like it.
Well, I mean, at the start of the video, it's a song about how, you know, oh, my teammates are minions, and by the end of it, the people on stage are also the minions because they realize that they too are just as bad as their teammates.
And we found
I think it's a great experience.
minions.
It's a great experience and a great journey of how a player can learn to be self-aware, which is, of course, very unrealistic. Everyone knows that it is never your fault, of course. But that in this one hypothetical universe, it is.
I love it because it started off like it's like okay, I'm along with it, and it just kept going. It just keep
absolutely.
going off the deep end.
Yeah, you want to know what I think about when it's not about the analytics of League of Legends? It is about stupid jokes about League of Legends too. Everything is just a different flavor of League of Legends.
Gotcha. Well, we got a flavor of League of Legends being put down right now, and it's LGD versus AL around the Dragon. This is Dragon number 1, and it's looking like a 4v4 here. Dragon going down, Meteor's pressing in, Meteor gets it,
Ooh,
and now
stolen.
Croco in some trouble as LGD gets out. Nice abyssal dive, but not gonna connect. JinJiao makes it out alive.
Okay, that's a bit of a heist. LGD, they didn't have the bot side push. It felt like most of the time when you get bot lane push, you end up getting the Dragon beyond that too. Hope blows the Ghost as well in that attempt, so for very little gain, they end up using the leash, cancels the dash.
There's the rock. Oh, Haichao couldn't get over the wall. No.
I think maybe he could have flashed forward and unlocked the second jump. I just don't know whether he knew anyone could roam up in time for that. I think with the second jump, he gets the kill with the extra auto attacks. But still, blows the flash, blows the ult, gets control over mid lane. Still fine from Haichao, who is continuing to be on pretty good form. Gonna go back towards the replay of this. And again, talked about how effectively LGD just walk up, use the leash, which was brought in very helpfully by anyone's legend. As it turns out, it's not just anyone's legend, it's anyone's dragon as well. How charitable is this team?
I feel like there's a lot you could do with that. At
Yeah.
this point, anyone's anything.
Anyone's anything all at once. We can make a movie out of it.
Yeah, are we just like producers this time? Like, are we just making movies
100%.
on broadcast? Is that what we're doing?
Hey,
this is our
imagine
time
if
to
you
come
made
up
a
with
movie
movie ideas.
Called the producers as well. That's never been done before. We've never seen a stage show or a
Absolutely.
movie called the producers before. It's never happened.
Never happened. Absolutely. Not even in the time since cavemen.
Yeah, we truly are the greatest showmen.
Goodness gracious.
Can I keep going?
Yeah, I'm going to cut us off right now. Another focus that I feel like we haven't gotten as much of in this game has been the grubbies, as we did get the 2 taken earlier by anyone's legend, but another spawn, meaning potentially more focused towards the top side of the map here, Nymeara.
Yeah, I mean, it's not all 3 taken, which does mean that the spawn is going to be delayed. If it gets delayed long enough, of course, the second episode. No! We'd perfected the formula. The second episode of the Grubby Tubbies in each game. We're only going to get a single episode. It's only a single running today. Sorry, folks.
I'm just surprised nobody's wanted to go get it.
Well, I mean, if you're focusing towards bot side and actually contesting bot side Dragon, I somewhat get it. And with these junglers, they don't take grubs that quickly.
Yeah.
If you're someone like, I mean, we've seen Trundle a fair bit. Brand is the obvious one, right? Where they just shred through those grubs and it becomes very easy to take them. But yeah, if it takes you too much time, sure, go make yourself useful elsewhere, I suppose.
Trying to see what those stackings are going to be. We do get the noodle fight, the top side of the map. actually, Croco's looking for a play down here. A lane gank. I think he can sneak in. That last minion going down means it'll be so. Croco has the Glacial Prison.
He does. I have a more important thing, though. I've had another idea. How would you like to see a pool party Cassante, which is called Cassandi? It's just him playing with like little like inflatable arms, and he's got like 2 giant shovels or trowels to make sandcastles.
See, I think
Might
it'd be
actually
better
slightly
if
less
they're
important
noodles.
than
Anyways, Taco or the
JinJiao's dead.
yeah, that's a little bit unfortunately going the way of AL because they just didn't have vision. I think Croco cooking that one up for a long time, it works out.
Yep, the crocodile hidden in the murky waters. I think that one's
That's not
pretty well studied
Renekton.
at this point. Yeah, further Renekton this time.
No, when
Every
Renekton
champion's
becomes the
Renekton when it's
jungler, Croco is unleashed.
Gosh. That'll be a time to be alive.
Surprised the coaches didn't just force him swap top lane
remember-
and force Renekton.
Do you remember in Season 5 where anything could be a jungler? We had Twisted Fate
Yes.
jungle, we had
Ezreal.
Tristana and Lulu jungle as well, Ezreal. Ezreal came out, that was around for a while, especially with Fervor of Battle.
I
In
loved
fact,
it.
the Ezreal world skin from Samsung, people forget, is an Ezreal jungle skin for
Yep,
Haru.
yep.
Haru ended up going to the ERL system for a little while. He played on the NLC. And we're catching up with him a bit
Interesting.
there. He's still around, he's still doing bits and pieces. Don't exactly know where he's playing right now, but indubitably a wise choice.
He's back!
Finally!
The grub's been waiting
Are
this
we
whole
gonna get
time.
Wait, are we? I don't know whether
We're not, I
gonna
don't
get
think we're going to get a
ourselves...
second. It's
I
4
don't think
minutes.
it's gonna, because the Herald will probably spawn immediately after this one, so it's gonna be 3 grubs over to the side of anyone's legend, but none more than that. And
There
it will
it
be the
is.
Herald, so no second season of that one.
Wow, we got canceled
And,
so fast.
Oh my
Goodness.
god, yeah, this is...
I don't know what to
Gosh.
say. It's been a long
Yeah.
time. I think hearts go out to everyone that we were
Everyone who
part of
helped
this
with the production of
journey.
this.
Yeah,
I
that's
wanna
part of the
thank,
journey. A long time.
I want to thank creative producer Mazael, and also thank,
Thank
the
you.
cinematographist Lennon. And is there another name I can call you to give you a different credit?
I mean, you
Just
can
that
call
good.
me my last name, but I don't know. I feel like I got enough credit. I can leave it there. That's fine.
We can work with that one. Either way, let's actually check back in with the game. I think mid lane vision is, you can see some of these wards being put down. That's kind of important. We're getting to the point where engages might start to be a bit more frequent. You're starting to look towards the point where Ezreal is going to come online. Looks like he's going towards the Essence Reaver as well as part of his build. He's not there yet. It's going to be another fight potentially over this dragon. Meteor has ult, but the vision which AL put down before is going to give them full warning of this.
TP coming in. There's the combo, though. Nature's Grass comes across. His Meteor going to get another one. He does!
He gets another
Oh
one!
my god! And JinJiao makes it out. Big combo from the explosive charge. And there we go. The reset's coming out from Haichao. He's stepping all over them as another rocket jump follows. It's going to be LGD moving in, clearing out, and taking names.
Oh my gosh, it's another steal on the dragon, setting up towards a potential Mountain Soul later into the game. Meteor, that has been some fine smite work, sir. Burdol, some fine work on the fight as well. That's a huge Q3 as that Cassante. And now anyone's legend, after what felt like should be 2 easy Drakes going into an objective lead for them, find themselves in a bit of a precarious situation. It's a great Mazael to pen them into the pit. Again, they had the advanced knowledge of the vision to make sure that they chose this fight. They chose to stay here. They end up losing it. They lose the dragon, they lose the fight because Burdol has a fantastic Q3. Gets himself the ult out as well to safety. Burdol, honestly, really well played fight.
And that's been a subtle thing I've noticed. Is yes, I think Burdol has also been the cause of LGD losing games, and especially on an Aatrox that we're not going to talk about anymore. It's seriously, though, there are moments where Burdol is like heads and above, making the biggest brain play. And I think there's little moments like that you have to keep tabs on as the season goes forward.
You know, I look at a number of the players in LGD, and these are not players which have found huge amounts of success in their career consistently. They've had bright marks, right? Haichao, we talked about him as a bit more of a rookie player towards that, don't get me wrong. But Meteor, when this guy exploded onto the scene, was such an exciting jungler. It's taken him a while to get back towards someone with a bit of the better reputation. Of course, Kepler was on one of the very worst iterations of Victory 5 back when they had their, what was it, 0-16 split they had. And they've had a couple of players around here which are looking to kind of band together. It feels like every year in the LPL we have one band of misfits trying to reclaim a name for themselves. I think IG potentially was that last year, with the likes of Gideon and Dove finding themselves to pretty good success in spring up until they couldn't keep that going. But LGD I would be excited to see what they could do with this band of unlikely suspects.
And it's curious how we got here, right? I think Meteor didn't have as much consistency last year that he wanted, but I think the variance in the picks he's willing to go for and some of the aggressive nature of those has been really cool to watch. It always gives you something to think about for LGD. Even if they haven't been necessarily in the best winning columns, it is something you always have to deal with, and I think that's always cool.
Well, this is proxying of the Kasante against the Udyr for once. Udyr does win the extended trade most of the time, but I think it's just not worth the time investment. Realizes there's a way of going into store and goes, I will deal with you later.
Nothing else going to come of it. We do have those first item spikes coming across Doggo. Or Croco. I don't know why I keep saying Doggo for Croco. The name very close in my brain, I guess. They're both animals. I don't know. Croco has literally been down here so many times, just cooking up a gank and try to catch Haichao out now.
Dingo's been just really good on those ultimates so far, catching out the right people. Oh, sorry, the wrong name again. He's got himself the ultimate.
Get it right, Nymeara. I can't believe you.
Well, he's left it just in time for Shanks to get jumped on by Meteor.
And Meteor goes underneath the divide, and Haichao picks up the kill. Shanks is question mark pinging Croco right now, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's not left into the murky waters that time. He has gone and departed these waters and gone elsewhere. He's gone topside for the Herald spawn. Shanks just a little bit disconnected, thinks he's safe. Meteor pulls the ult. Does mean that they're not likely to be able to contest towards his topside. Have an Ezreal at hold cheers just to see if it was started up a little earlier. Now is a very important time because Haichao's starting to get some gold in these side lanes. That's important. Kepler's going to get towards his second item spike fairly soon, which will be the Nymeara on top of the Essence Reaver beyond that. Once those item spikes are hit, you really need to see LGD push the go buttons and just see what fights they can get with those item breakpoints. I think it's going to get quite hard beyond that point, so it's not going to be the Leandries onto the Maokai, which we have seen sometimes in this season. It is going towards the full tank. It means that the tanks from anyone's Legend are going to get really, really tanky at some point. You can already see the Frozen Heart and the Icewind Gauntlet. You called them out a little bit already. Yeah. And that's going to make it very hard for the double AD composition to deal with the mixed damage DPS from AL, who will be damaging the front line much better later into the game from anyone's Legend.
Now, we do have a timer coming up, about 25 seconds for the dragon spawn. It would be a third dragon for LGD, so you know it's taking priority for them. They're already trying to clear out mid lane to get that priority. And I was wondering if we get a Rift-Herald play to distract a little bit here, but it looks like the play might just be to try to contest.
10 seconds until this mountain soul point for LGD. Of course, that's another thing, right? Because if LGD can get if they can get themselves to a mountain soul, I think the worries about scaling and frontline damage is pretty different because they're going to get so tanky. So Juani's going to hop in here, hop back out of turret. No engage is going to come out onto the, can't stop that going into the turret. What this means is that AL can walk up and they've pushed in that mid lane and they get into river now.
Yeah, beautifully used. Like I was trying to set up there. Didn't think it was going to happen, but they end up using it as that distractionary tool to get them priority. Now it is a bit split. They didn't fully get in front of the dragon pit, but Kepler is going to have to use that phase shift out, or the arcane shift rather. AL a little hesitant to move forward.
They are a little bit, because I think if you engage too hard into the Ezreal and the Tristana at these item breakpoints, things get pretty awkward. Really need to see the Q accuracy from Kepler go well, landing some damage on Kael.
JinJiao
has the flank.
He's going around the corner. He's seen in the pit. Burdol going low. Dragon, 2,000 health. Who's going to get it this time? Engage from JinJiao. He's charming him up. It's going to be taken by Croco the moment that it matters. And AL trying to go back in for the engage on a Haichao. They can't bind him. Nice little buster shots back. Huge damage. Haichao making it out with the buster and that blast cone, but Shanks ends up helping Hope take down JinJiao. Burdol cleaning up Hope. He can't get him. Last auto attack from Hope makes the difference. Kepler gets taken down, and AL, they lose one, but they take everything else.
Huge fight from anyone's Legend. They don't lose the Smite fight this time. Great Varasol and great DPS from Hope throughout that really wins the day for them. LGD, this is meant to be the power spikes which they're meant to be going around. Haichao is on vision. Not going to be able to finish off any of these kills. He could have genuinely cleaned up like 2 kills there if he got lucky enough with a good flash, but sadly does not have the ability to jump in just then. Doesn't pull the trigger. Going back to the replay of this, this is when the power spike of LGD is meant to be. But Burdol, as part of this front line, not able to press his W throughout the middle of this too. The Devour goes pretty early into the Udyr, which means that JinJiao does get a good engage. but Hope doesn't take that much damage. Look how much work Hope does on the back end of this fight. He manages to keep distance, and the auto-attack uptime from this Varus is insane. Despite the fact that it's 180 carry against 2, of course the Azir adds in the extra damage, and AL walk away with the objective and the fight.
It's just so huge. Hope showing up when it matters most, able to get the clutch picks rather. And I think seeing that kind of moment is exactly what our recipe was asking for from Hope, right? It's a guy that we know is looking to make a name back for himself, but also has been having some consistent performances for AL, and it's time to take that to the next level.
However, 2 items just hit for Kepler. He's just about to get himself to the Muramana transformation. Just 1 or 2 more autos will get that done, or skills. And that is going to be a very dangerous moment for anyone's legend. This is the famous Ezreal 2-item spike. You want to be playing around this. Again, this is not through onto 14-2 yet. You don't have the buffed up Ezreal. And Croco doesn't have much of a HP buff.
Nice little play there, though, with the flash Glacial Prison fade away. Gets away from the engage of LGD.
Does for now, but playing without flash, there is a chance to pick off that jungler. And if you get picked off now, Baron has spawned. Very dangerous thing to keep in mind at that point. So gold fairly even. Feels like Hope is in a really good position to do damage to, but doesn't have himself the summoners right now to reposition. I think if Hope has flash and ghost, LGD needs to be very careful picking fights around that Varus.
See, a moment of calm here as well, as I do want to check in this side lane a little bit more. I think Hery will end up being a really big thorn in the side of LGD as time goes on, but that's where Burdol has that ability to influence the team fights. Yes, Udyr can run at people, but we've seen Cassante moments over and over again, and I think Burdol is set up in that position as time goes on too.
Did you ever see that one meme video, which was there's a Pokemon meme about like, oh, all of these other Pokemon can do really cool things, but I can walk, and it's just Furret walking around. There was an edit of that, but it was just for Udyr. Like
nice.
Other champions can fly and dash and do damage. I can walk, but he's gonna walk at them very menacingly. It's gonna have like
real
the little,
menacingly.
It's gonna have like the little JoJo kind of like text floating in the air, the menacing little sounds. He's just picked himself up a Sunfire Cape. He has double armor items and steel caps as well. This is actually going to be quite a threatening Udyr. We've seen some Udyrs not do that much, but if you have the Sejuani and the Udyr on top of the double 80 carries, Frozen Heart's going to be on them. Huge amount of armor is going to be on the targets they're hitting too. Kepler is... Look how little damage he's doing right now. At the 2-item spike, he's not really going to be a huge threat towards the tanks. And this is one of the worries which I had. With the extra Mountain Dragon on top of that as well for AL, this is a problem for LGD.
You've got to itemize, I feel like, into the right direction. We actually just got a second item, Crypt Bloom, from Shanks as well. So really trying to keep up the sustain for these fights that he feels like might drag on a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Crypt Bloom is just a really nice cheap spike for Magic Penetration, especially as your second item. Feels pretty good to build that one up, and gives you some extra ability haste too as a second item. You kind of miss out on ability haste in a lot of Azir's builds now, so that Dawn definitely helps alongside something like a Lich Bane too.
Well, we had AL put a lot of priority around the Dragon last time around to deny a soul point from LGD. Looks like we're going to get that same flavor yet again. 15 seconds for this Dragon.
Really need to see where the Q accuracy is from Kepler, because if you can get some decent poke onto some of the key targets, it is going to be very, very nice damage to stick. Hope does have both summoners. Mentioned how important that was earlier. If he can reposition and chase down the fight after the initiation's been already committed, that is going to be huge damage too.
About to get some fisticuffs. Getting pushed from AL around mid lane.
Lucky, as a treat.
I think we are spoiled for treats here in the LPL. A True Shot Barrage does end up coming across the bow. Shanks taking the brunt of it here, and some poke really starting to land from Kepler. But you got to make it stick. And speaking of, Nature's Grasp going to connect onto multiple members here, but the Dragon is the focus. If AL can clean up, Hery going in. He does have a lot of AoE. Chains of Corruption goes wide. Meteor is in no position to get there, but he's going to walk in. Hery trying to separate it, and it's taken by Hope. Meanwhile, Hery's just continuing to walk at him. What did you say? Just walk at them menacingly.
He just walks at you.
And he's just walking at him all over the place. As anyone's legend, be a little bit more cautious. Will back out. Ghost got popped by Hope as well. They got to fight to try to get back to this mid lane, though, as Hope is landing that damage.
Yeah, and you look at the damage coming back from LGD. double Mountain Drakes is really annoying for them. Heck, even at this point, I'd be wondering if Shanks could pick up Zhonya's just for the stats, if Hope could pick up even like a Jak'Sho or something like the Terminus too. That kind of extra tankiness is really, really nice for the side of AL. LGD, it feels like this is meant to be their power spike, but with the 2 last dragons going the other way, that window of time is really quite quickly closing.
See some nice side lane pressure by Haichao though on this Tristana. Still a saving grace for LGD, I feel like, moving forward.
Well, they're going to have a couple of those saving graces, it feels like. I don't really see what a one fight looks for them in terms of the 5v5. I think that's quite difficult. If you can get a good enough pickoff onto Varus or Azir, that's great, but there is the Tahm Kench to take into account there too. You need to find someone really out of position. Now that the Baron's spawned, there's a chance that you can find someone out of position like this and look for a Baron afterwards.
Gonna be able to catch him out, but a lot of damage put right back into them as well. JinJiao in some trouble there for sure. Croco wants to go in now as well. Shanks, he's looking to use that little spike, but the Nature's Grass coming right back. There's the Glacial Prison to deny the forward advance from LGD and Haichao. TP's coming in now. All 5 members of LGD have shown up.
They have, but that was a pick attempt that they started, and they ended up getting run off of that one too. This tank frontline is a huge issue for LGD. Gonna keep coming back to that because it really doesn't feel like they're taking that much damage. Kepler trying to trap down this mid lane auditory if he can, but Hery, he's at almost a 3rd armor item as well, building up towards what looks like potentially his own Frozen Heart. Of course, I wonder if he could actually go towards a Randuin's too, so he doesn't have to double duty.
Look at this comp, right? Like, why not?
Exactly, he could do whatever he wants. Let's see how he ends up completing at the end of this one. Of course, Frozen Heart is a very cheap item. Could go towards that one easily.
Oh,
of course, he only has the Ruby Crystal. He actually doesn't have that much gold yet. Not quite there yet, folks.
But literally, you just build armor. Like there again, you were talking earlier in the draft. Like, yes, a little bit of AP will come through, but the majority of the damage is going to be AD centered. So we're seeing Hery tank up so much damage early on in these fights, and that's going to get even harder to deal with for LGD.
And just keeping an eye on Kepler's build too, I believe he's going to be going towards the Cyrildas. Worth noting that Cyrildas no longer has the same value if you're not building other lethality. It's percent armor penetration scales off of the flat penetration that you have. So it's not going to be the 1 item God item 3rd for Ezreal. This is why the spike in power for Ezreal is at 2 items right now, because beyond that, your items are in a really weird spot. If you really want to know more about Ezreal item builds, I'd highly suggest going to look at Dragdar, who's one of the best new Ezreals that does a lot of informative content on it. This 3rd item spike is not the same 3rd item spike we saw from last year.
Gonna be able to chunk down a little bit though as Burdol and Hery. This is tried and true what we're gonna watch all game long. Is just go at it, baby. Let's see how much damage we can do to each other. Let's pump those damage numbers.
Oh god, it's just,
they've just been fighting for like 30 seconds.
Does this even count as like a wet noodle fight? This is like, you know, just slapping each other with open hands. It's basically nothing there.
And shadow
gently
boxing.
Wafting air at each other.
Oh, that's not gently wafting air at anybody. Kepler doing some work with that True Shot Barrage. Ooh, Haichao. Nature's Grass coming across now. Shanks stepping back up though. Anyone's Legend willing to take the fight there.
Willing to take that fight, but of course they can. They have definitely better damage towards the front line. They have the DPS check well in hand, especially with the dragons being built up too. There's another dragon in 50 seconds. LGD absolutely cannot allow that one to go over. It's already getting dangerous enough. It feels like if they manage to take 1 dragon, it still feels like by the time the 4th dragon, which could be their soul point, comes up from that point, for them rather, it feels like those items which are going to be coming in for anyone's Legend may have just already determined the game.
There is the Lord Doms finally completed for Haichao. I think that is an actual big difference maker.
That's an actual item, yes.
It is an actual item. Congratulations.
Yeah.
But I do think it's actually a big difference maker here for the damage profile of LGD, because you do have to fight this dragon, it feels like. And it looks like LGD actually want to force the hand around the Baron just because they do have that quick damage.
They do, and because both teams have very strong tank front lines in their own regards, they can tank Baron for forever, which means that they don't have to be worried about being chunked down to low HP with a Baron start. So they can force that one, force a response fairly easily. I don't think they can stick on it.
I don't feel like there's confident in it though.
No, I don't think so either. And because they've headed towards the Baron, they have lost themselves in mid lane out. It's right. LGD, they're looking quite lost here, folks.
This is a little awkward. Anyone's Legend definitely taking advantage of it. LGD were hesitant. Haichao actually started up the Baron at one point. But Anyone's Legend take advantage of it.
Did.
Take out.
I think he actually used it for the fleet footwork, movement speed, and the healing. He might have taken a Baron auto in return for that. But let's see how much more can be done with that. So, Dragon has spawned.
There it is.
This is the Baron start, though. LGD, they potentially allow AL to angle towards the Dragon, but now Anyone's Legend have to respond around the Baron.
Kepler's not in any position to be like this, but Anyone's Legend overextend a little bit. Maybe a turn coming through, but LGD focus down the Baron, and there it goes. Nature's Grasp across. Kepler hits another True Shot Barrage, and Hery getting burned. He gets eaten alive, and double kills going over to LGD now. Burdol stepping forward. LGD are thriving. And it's all off the back of AL dying. And all of a sudden, LGD stream forth.
That is a disaster from Anyone's Legend. They allow Vision to go completely dark around the Baron. They respond late to the start, and the fight afterwards is just not what they needed. The damage of Hope and Shanks is not in position to deal enough damage to the front line to seal the fight. And now suddenly LGD, they have a Baron, they have themselves Soul Point. And just as it felt like the window was closing for them, with the Lord Dom's Regard being able to allow Haichao a little bit more frontline damage, they end up running away with the fight. It's kind of crazy because they look for their cake and they get to have it as well. They get to eat it. They get the Baron. Haichao gets to peel off straight onto Hery. Kael's out of position trying to save that. And that means that the backline of Hope and Shanks can't do anything with their frontline so out of position.
The fact that, Haichao able to burn down the Baron not only and then turn around, huge stuff, but it was LGD's play calling that I feel like was actually really big. And now they're set up with this double ADC composition to really have some success. I want to see how they can siege down, though. They have a lot of range, at least with Kepler, but it has been a little dicey for them with this lead maybe making that difference. But the biggest factor there is the fact that they stopped that triple mountain stacking for Anyone's Legend.
For sure. I think that if they get any more defensive stats, like we were saying before, it was very, very difficult. I'm just so surprised that Anyone's Legend let Vision around Baron go for that long. They couldn't respond in time, but either way, LGD, they absolutely take those. The extra golden pocket will help them get towards the DPS numbers they potentially need to extend this game and play towards late game. Kepler's getting decent damage onto the Tahm Kenshi, of course, has less resources than his top side tanks because he's just a support. This isn't the setup. He isn't allowed to get as much gold as other iterations.
That was a crazy gold graph right there, by the way. Kael in trouble. The explosive charge not going to be enough through the gray health. And even though a tier 2 does fall, AL stand to live another day there, but another tier 2 is now in the eyes of LGD.
And the wave player is not sick. It's not in position quick enough to defend these turrets completely. That's a good redemption to make sure they can get topped up. Croco tries to go in. JinJiao blocks it out.
There's nothing he can do there. Another tower falls. Look at the vision control of LGD as well. Now, it will be towards the top side of the map. Not exactly where they're playing towards now, but a very healthy reset now for LGD.
There it is. Let's see how many item completions they get off of this. Burdol, another tank item, gets himself to a Spirit Visage.
2.
We have the Shojin.
3. 4, but on the other side. Oh, no, there was a 4th one. 4. Come on. We got to get a 5th one. Oh, Haichao, where is your money?
Oh, my God. Oh, gosh. We have 2 vampire-ish characters in League of Legends. We don't have enough for
Vampires
like a full
on EDG,
headcount, really.
come on.
That's true. We also have a player called that as well. But we have Vladimir, who's a Chemomancer, and Briar, which is kind of a vampire, but weird. The lore is weird on that one. Either way, we can talk about the actual importance of these item completions. I mean, of course, we've got 3 items and a bit onto Shanks and Hope. They're strong if they can actually get in position to do damage. But the Shojin on Ezreal, of course, gives a lot of extra cooldown reduction to the Q, W, and E. Very important for that one. And the more he hits abilities, the more his percent damage is going to go up. So Kepler, if he can keep his accuracy up, very important that he can get more damage out of that.
Kael not having his ultimate is a little rough. Going to try to save Shanks there. The siege is still on point for LGD. A decent amount of damage actually done back to JinJiao there, so it might belay the siege from LGD.
And you can see the amount of damage that Shanks has. If Shanks gets damage onto the right target, they melt. it still feels like it's not going to be an easy job for Kepler and Haichao to deal with, particularly Hery and Croco, but they have done well enough with the Baron Siege and then to, with the gold they earned off of that, to get themselves another lease on life and potentially get themselves into a position to get themselves Mountain Soul. That would be really quite an uptick in pace in this game. As soon as that Mountain Soul is gone, you feel like LGD should be able to force fights with a bit more impunity.
5! We finally got it, alright. I had
Still
to
on the same
continue
base.
bit.
I feel like
had
that's
to continue
not
the
fair.
bit. Anyways, we got
Alright.
the Bloodthirster completed for Haichao. I think that is a big unlocking potential. It just gives you a lot more strength in the skirmishing and a lot more safety in that matter. We do have a dragon coming up, though, and you cannot be losing your health bar like that 40 seconds out.
So Kepler is not going to be able to... Well, he can probably get himself a reset. AL, they want to try and find whatever territory they can, knowing that Kepler probably has to back now. And if he doesn't back, then I think it's getting pretty
And
awkward.
they catch out
Hery's
Hery.
caught out.
He is Udyr. He's just walking at people. Don't worry about it. He's fine. True Shot Barrage comes out. LGD are in a very awkward place, but Burdol might have an angle here. It forces AL to rethink their angle. Now we have a really awkward pace where Hery's backing with the TP available.
Yeah, so Hery gets the teleport. Where's he teleporting to? Right into the middle of River, but he doesn't have Ghost to close the distance nearly as much. LGD feels like they have pretty good positioning on this. Different flanking angles, giving them options here.
All right, you got to watch Hope. You got to watch Haichao. Those are the big engage, at least potentials onto those targets. We do have the Dragon down about quarter health now. Chains of Corruption goes wide from Hope. That's actually so big. Now Burdol with the flank. Croco low. It's looking like an LGD
JinJiao
combo. That's Kepler's going to be getting resets, and as well as Haichao. That is LGD. Another fight holistically in their favor. Hope getting taken down this time. He can't take down Burdol. And it's Haichao bursted over to take Hery out one final time. That is 4 members of anyone's legend down, and LGD streaming.
And LGD, they're not even going to take themselves the Dragon. Croco knows the game is potentially up. He tries to intercept the wave, but a timely teleport will survive 1 minion there. This might just extend the game a little longer. It depends how quickly they can push through bot side. There's another tower they have to take there. That might just buy another fight in the game for AL.
Couple seconds on Kael, but also about 20 seconds on Shanks and Hery. Have Hope coming up. Burdol's still going to find Croco there, but another turret falls. That'll be the inhib as well. So they weren't able to get the mid lane cracked down. They definitely did some lasting damage in bot lane as well as claiming a Mountain Soul.
Yeah, that's Croco doing his best Marin impression all those years ago, trying to save the game by clearing the wave in the mid lane. It is still going to be the Mountain Soul taken. This replay, I think we've got to cut the short, folks. There was a teleport up towards Baron. There's potential of a fight around there, but we'll see what happens through this fight. Basically, the carries from LGD are never hit. Even though it feels like maybe the carries from AL should be the ones dealing more damage to the tank front line, doesn't matter if the carries are the ones actually taking the damage on the side of anyone's legend.
Burdol just taking Hope out. Last time around, Hope was able to get the last second piercing arrow. This time, not there. Baron already going half health now.
I saw the teleport in just before this one. I think that was Haichao making his way to the play. LGD, they have the Mountain Soul now. How do they want to play this? You still have to play into multi-item Azir. And the Varus. The Varus, though, doesn't have summoners. Makes it much harder for Hope to put out damage.
Hope's walking up now. He'll have the piercing arrow available to go, as well as all the ultis available. It is AL on a back foot now, though. Baron getting burned down by LGD. Kepler needs to be very careful stepping up like that, but 3,000 health. Nature's Grass coming across. LGD know what they came for, and it is the big purple worm as it's claimed. Burdol now looking for an angle over the other side. AL, that's a big all out, and Hery is delivered to the thieving masses as LGD take them out.
It's a bit of a pedestrian approach from anyone's legend. There's no real intent to fight the Baron itself. You can see that Croco, he's really leery of leaving his backline. But on the retreat, they cannot keep everyone together. Burdol has had some very important team fights in this game. LGD, they've managed to overcome what we assume would be a very difficult late game through some pretty clutch team fighting.
Also, 6:05 for Haichao in the mid lane. Absolutely monumental for this guy who's making the push up to the upper levels here for LGD. The call up from their LDL team, and he's making the difference here as Burdol goes in. The turrets are starting to go down. There's Haichao picking off one. He's got the second one too. Kael going low. That's going to be everything used, and that just is LGD moving in. Kepler hits him. And Haichao locked down, but he's going to get the resets here. The bomb's working, the pop-off, and LGD go one up in the series.
It's pretty hard fought. They had to give up a couple of dragon fights. It felt like maybe they were getting outscaled, that maybe they had a difficult time dealing with the front line, but it was not to be for anyone's legend. They've looked pretty solid.